Sometimes we in this position where we want to give our kids what we didn't have. But sometimes we forget to give our kids what we did have, and stuff like compassion, stuff like generosity, stuff like respect. We have to make South Africa better. We can't depend on someone else.
A human being is extraordinary, a perfect machine that can achieve it all. But a South African, now we are exceptional. We have broken boundaries. We have fought for freedom. Just like you, Profmed is proudly South African and stands behind each professional striving to make a difference. Today we're in the quaint town of Fish Hoek to meet another incredible South African. Dr. Desmond Murphy's story is one of both resilience and determination, and an inspiration to us all. Let's go meet him. Dr. Desmond, thank you so much for sitting down with me today to tell me about your incredible story, one that I think is important. And to start off our conversation today, where did it all begin? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a little town called Bridgetown, which is on the Cape Flats, Athlone, Cape Town, and that's during the 60s. We four together. I'm the eldest, two brothers and one sister. So it was it's a small two-bedroom house that we grew up in, and it was a lovely community, close-knit. Everybody helped each other. You didn't feel like you were missing out.
You use those words specifically, missing out.
Yeah.
You grew up without, right?
What is? Yeah. I often say, when people ask me, I say, I grew up in a sense poor, in the surroundings, but I think it's actually more sad if you're poor in the mind when you grow up.
Yeah.
So my dad moved 22 times. So that time it was the Group Areas Act, and he moved had to be moved from place to place, and then eventually ended up in Bridgetown, which is on the Cape Flats. And every June holidays we used to go to Steenrosdam with some other families. And when we came home from Steenrosdam, we passed the beach in the Strand, and we often said, let's stop here, we're going to jump out. And my dad said we couldn't.
You're not allowed to.
Because it was whites only, So there was a kind of a wakening up of that, about that. And then also after a while you thought, what do you do to correct that?
Families played a huge role in your existence, in your life, added more values. Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about that.
So family is important to me because I think it's not by chance that you're placed in the family. You in your family and I'm in my family. That's not just a chance. There's a reason why you're there. So I'm the eldest in my family, and so I try and inspire them. I try to encourage them. I try to bring us all out. And when I was in grade 8, so that stands 6, I sort of walked across the field, and there's a park. And I stood on the back was the school, and in the front I saw the house. And there was just that moment in time where I stood and I said, this can't be it. This can't be what you intended to be and intended to have. And I stood and I just said a prayer, and I said, God, please get me to university and allow me to build my mom and dad a house, and I'll serve you the rest of my life. From that moment, I just knew I was going to dedicate myself to somehow get to university. Education was always important to me, so I always wanted to make sure that I got a good education. But the problem was there wasn't many resources at that time. The school never had access to a library. So when I matriculated in 1981, I always wanted to be a doctor. And this lady sat there, everybody got a chance to speak to her, and she asked me, what would you like to do? I said, now I'd like to one day become a doctor. And she said, all the things that prevented me from being a doctor. And I came away so discouraged from that, And today, when someone comes to me and they say they'd like to be this, I say, go for it,
So let me ask you, after hearing that news of all the things that the reasons why you couldn't become a doctor, how did you turn that around from being despondent to actively going
to achieve this?
So what I did was I said, okay, I can't, if that's not going to be my case, I think the first priority is to get to university. That's the first priority. And then from there's got to be a way. So my makeup is always, there's got to be a way of doing something. Don't tell me that you can't do it. I'm so reminded of Nelson Mandela, who says that if people tell you it can't be done, you will be the first one to do it.
Doc, what about when that person said to you, you come from the gutter, you're going to stay in the gutter?
That was hard, I think people are angry when we see someone trying to go. We don't encourage them. We start
pulling them down
and start saying stuff. And so you either believe what they say in the mind, or you say, you know what, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to show you that what you think is not actually going to happen. So I have 3 practices, which I'm at obviously different times, but in the rest of the time we do have someone, the oral hygienists, who are in those practices to see patients. So the one is in Fishhoek, the one that's in Strand, and then we have one in Hermanus. So all 3 of those practices are in places that before myself nor my dad would be able to be. For example, the Strand, like I said, we would travel to Sneemras Dam, and then we would pass the beach, and we couldn't stop at the beach.
What I love about your entire story is that you changed your own life, and now you're changing other lives in the process. And that's beautiful. Giving back, and what you say about it's our responsibility. We need to be there. We need to roll up our sleeves. We need to be helping each other rise, really.
So I'm involved in an ECD, Early Childhood Development Center.
So important.
That is if anybody has asked me, where do you put your money today in education, I would say ECD. What sometimes gets me is the fact when the child is born and you hold the child in the arms, the child is alive with possibilities. I mean, that child can be the next president, today in this South Africa. But as the child grows up, we sort of put limitations on the child, and we say, no, you can't because we don't have this, we don't have that.
And so you're involved directly with ECD in the community?
In informal settlement, Masipumele, we put up a 5 million rand facility, state-of-the-art facility. Then at church, in the Southside Church, I'm heading up the education program.
What do they say? Success is not an overnight thing.
Yeah.
It takes time.
It takes time, and it's hard work. There were times where I sat on the bathroom floor and I just cried because I was in a situation where I just couldn't see how I was going to get out. And then the next day you feel a little better and you say, okay.
And with regards to Profmed, how did we sort of join with Profmed?
So Profmed, like always, I did my homework and I kind of looked at different things, spoke to some of my colleagues and stuff. So all of them, they're like, you must go with Profmed.
Profmed's the only way.
So you go with Profmed, and that's how and I've been with them, I can't remember how long, probably 2008 or before that even. And I've had no problems with them. My kids went and had their wisdom teeth taken out. We just filled out the form, went off. I had a trigger finger, and for about 3 weeks I couldn't use my finger, and then they paid me out for that. So I've had just good things. Good things with them, yeah.
South Africa, complex country. Yeah. We have ups, we have downs. Every day is like another story. It's like a lucky packet. We don't know what we're going to get. What message do you have for South Africans?
Sometimes we in this position where we want to give our kids what we didn't have. But sometimes we forget to give our kids what we did have. And stuff like compassion, stuff like generosity, stuff like respect. We forget to give them that. And to say, making a difference in someone else's life. So we want to give them all the things we didn't have, but we forget to give them that foundation. We have to make South Africa better. We can't depend on someone else. Brent, you got to do your part. I've got to do my part. If I can make it better and be that light for the person that's next to me or where I can just impact on that person. The greatest satisfaction I get is when in education, when I sit across a table with a child and they're struggling with something and I explain to them and they understand and the light and you see it in their eyes that they get it.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to say that my Timothy and Gabriella, they know that.
Your light is so bright. From where you've come from to where you are going and what you're doing in between, you are lighting up everybody around you. And I need to commend you on everything that you do.
Thanks so much.
It's absolutely incredible. So Doc, we're where it all started.
Yeah.
This is where you grew up.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be back?
Yeah, it's like a lot of memories come flooding back and emotions. And many of the families are still here. And so this is our house.
This one here?
Yeah, this was our house, yeah. So before, it looked like I told you, and then we built on.
Yeah.
So my room was just behind this garage. My dad built a little shack, and I sat there.
And that's where you studied?
And that's where I studied, yeah. And then the neighbors next door, we were kind of against them. So on a Friday, they would be having parties and making a noise, and they would see the light on. And I'd be studying, and then Monday would come, and then they would say, "Oh, I saw you were studying, and I'm so sorry that you had to go through all that
all the noise
and stuff," and putting it mildly. When I qualified, the old man came around and he shook my hand. He said, "Congratulations," So
you made it through the noise.
Yeah, I made it through the noise. On the one hand, it was a struggle for you as an individual to break out of what was happening around you and to not let the things around you affect you, and to just hold your head up high and continue through. But the community was a very close-knit community. They cared for everybody. You had a sense where everybody struggled together. And going through life like that, I think the goal of us is to be significant in the world, so that when you have something, it's not for you, but it's to share for those around you and to make sure that they're better because of you, And it's hard to believe that this is where it started and
where
we are now,
yes. So you pushed forward your parents' house. Did you build them a house?
Yes, I built a house in 2010. We built them a house, a big house in Kirstenhof, a 4-bedroom house. My mom cried. We were standing there, we all cried,
Well, Doc, you are an incredible inspiration.
Thanks.
And spending today with you, I'm absolutely in awe of what you have achieved. I'm proud of where you're going and what you're doing for the future generations. I want to thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Fred.
What a beautiful interview. In the words of Dr. Desmond Murphy, be happy where you are, but keep moving forward. Another incredible story in the We Are South African series.